Thank you. I think some of those words are not to be believed. Yeah, they are more for effect, and probably that's a communication strategy learning. Yeah. Feels good to be here. I hope I'm not out of place here, but I think it's feels good to be here with the kind of startup people in Hyderabad. Let me take you through a few minutes of what I believe personally in terms of communication strategy, and also in terms of some of the relevant learnings probably that we could share with you. So I had two choices when I did this. One choice was to stand up here and talk about digital communication, talk about pipeline, talk about bandwidths, what Airtel does, a lot more of that. The other was to probably share a little bit of what I personally feel is important from a perspective of scaling up a business, and possibly a couple of years down the line when you would probably handle large businesses. How do you also look at it from that perspective? Yeah? So some of this probably today would not be as relevant and as immediate as probably what it could be over a period of time. And I hope that is useful to you. Sorry that I'm using this because of the presentation, but otherwise I would have loved to be there. See, to me, I believe communication is a strategic growth of the business. It's a strategic growth pillar for the business. Communication is not about advertising. I think somebody was raising the same question before. It is not about advertising. It is a strategy by itself in many of the businesses that we've seen. In fact, in many of the established businesses, communication is a clear, called out strategic pillar. More and more brands, more and more companies today feel the need for redefining the communication strategies. And why? I think it's a very dynamic market today. Whether you look at it from a perspective of B2C opportunities, or you look at it from a perspective of B2B opportunities, it's a very dynamic marketplace. Different buying behaviors are emerging. In fact, the startup culture and the startup opportunities that you are seeing today is an evolution of a lot of buying behavior changes that are happening, aided by technology, aided by a certain comfort that people have over new buying media, and a lot more about various changes that are happening in the profiles of customers that we see across today. But I want to pick up two specific areas. One is technological advancements and a connected world on the go. Why do you say, or why do I pick up these two areas? I think for two simple reasons. Technology today is actually defining a lot of changes in the paradigms that we've been working with before. Second, I think increasingly the world is becoming connected, and I'm sure all of you know about it. It's nothing new. The world is getting connected in your pocket. And if I were to look at this mobile, it's actually done wonders. Not that I belong to a mobile company, but I think even if I were to look at it as an individual customer who consumes a lot of services, who's interested in seeing this world grow, seeing this country grow, I think this device has actually made wonders. The last 2-3 years, probably last 3-4 years, have seen this whole paradigm shift when this mobile came in, and probably thanks to Apple for that, and over a period of time, many more of these mobile phone makers that they did. Combined with technology, I think the world is getting connected today. And as the world gets connected today, the opportunities that we get are huge. The opportunities to actually cater to many varying customer profiles, many varying opportunities in the markets, latent demand across many product categories. I think this is one amazing technological development that's been helping us. And I think the most important thing in that is the world is connected. Obviously, if the world is getting connected, communication becomes very clearly a big ask. In a connected world where people talk to each other, people virtually talk to each other on WhatsApp, on Facebook, a lot more. And in terms of purchases, if you look at e-commerce categories today, I think the whole lot of technology combined with opportunities to be able to cater to people, that opens up a big space. And increasingly, therefore, communication becomes a very clear area of opportunity that probably you would see. I'm looking at it as 4 pieces, right? And this is where I said that some part of it probably would be helpful to you today, and some part of it hopefully would be helpful to you as you scale up your business to manage larger organizations as you move forward. I look at it from a perspective of employees, partners, customers, and stakeholders. What do you look at from a communication perspective? And let me elaborate on why am I dwelling on this. As one of the business leaders who handles a team of around 1,000 people today, and definitely that's a different shift from probably the type of organization that you would probably handle at this point of time. I'm sure you would have handled this before as well in your erstwhile organizations where you would have worked. Whether it is a small startup, or whether it is a big startup which is scaling up, or whether it is a big established organization, my belief is I think it's important to keep the employees and the partners happy. It is a powerful set of employees that can actually help you drive this whole agenda of growth. And when you say employees, they're equally partners as you in your ideas, in your ideation, in getting your ideas actually translated into what you want. 15 years ago or 20 years ago when you looked at Airtel, it was a startup, literally. It started with one circle or one operations in Delhi. 20 years down the line, it's probably a $15 billion company. But we strongly believe that one of the reasons that this has happened, one of the big differentiating factors that this happened, it's because of the employees, the passionate employees that we had. And what has this got to do with communication? I think as you grow and as you scale up, as we want to explore opportunities which are new, you need a set of passionate people. You need a set of passionate people who are going to be with you in the journey, want to grow with you in this journey. And when you do that, I think it's important for you to be able to have a very clear stated strategy on communicating with these people. When it's a one-member team, when it's a two-member team, when it's a three-member team, vis-a-vis when the team starts growing up, how do you actually communicate? How do you actually build a sort of a camaraderie which comes together? How do you use communication as a strategy effectively in this? My belief is, as we move forward, technology is actually becoming a leader's biggest engagement partner. What do I mean by this? How do you get to engage with your people? I mean, beyond just one-on-one engagements, how do you get to engage with your people? In Airtel, for example, what we have done today is on the bedrock of technology that we have today, we've actually enabled our entire sales force to be only digitally equipped, which fundamentally means that while we are in the old world of selling SIMs, selling SIM cards, selling recharges, our employees today are digitally enabled to be able to do their entire work on the phone. And I'm sure this is something that all of you have got exposed to. And I'm sure all of you would also be looking at the space as a business opportunity. What we've done is basically to therefore create a digital medium which enables us to be in constant touch with the employees. What it also does is to enable us to be able to support them in their performances instantly, rather than they wait for a paper, or rather than they go through a list of huge paperwork to be able to prove their performances. The second bit that we have is what you call a social. I mean, an equivalent of a Facebook, an equivalent of a LinkedIn, an equivalent of a Twitter. This is what we want to create with our employees together. And why do we do that? Because I think as you go social, as you enable a platform for your people to be able to communicate more freely, the power of the ideas that come out sometimes are worth $1 million. Some of these platforms are enabling us to be able to bring people together passionately. So in a way, literally what we do is to be able to actually bring the group together in a social platform. This is not about sitting together in cubicles, working together. It's about bringing them together in a digital platform. Why is this all relevant to you again? I keep thinking about it again. Is this relevant to you? I think it's equally relevant. When it's concerned with people, how do you connect with them? How do you communicate with them? And I think how does this become a part of your strategy? I think is a key task. A lot of things that I have seen personally with different sets of leaders, different sets of people, different sets of organizations, I think clearly it's about reaching out to people, connecting with them, and be able to communicate with them. As you move forward, some of these things I hope would be of much significant use to you. From a customer perspective, customers are no longer averse to new platforms. I don't think I need to be teaching this to this group. Customers are no longer averse to new technologies or platforms. We've seen this, right? And I'm sure that the picture that you see there is actually what happens in my house today. I've got a kid who's just 2 years old, but he still is trying to surf the internet and the YouTube, right? So I think technology is no longer got an age barrier. Technology has got no longer a sense of aversion from any of us, right from my grandfather to my kid. How do you use this? And how do you use this to your benefit? And how do you use this effectively to communicate some of your abilities? While yes, you don't need to advertise. As my friend was talking about, you don't sometimes need to advertise. But then a one-on-one communication, a targeted communication, an enablement of communication through technology for you to take your idea to your customers. I think that's an important aspect of communication strategy. And that's something I think as you move forward, you would dwell upon. The second part of it is customers are open to new paradigms today. And again, I would like to dwell upon 2 or 3 categories. I'm sure you would have seen the communication on one of the jewelry ads, right? It was not about a jewelry ad. It was about a certain paradigm shift that the brand wanted to communicate to the customer, right? It was not about you come and buy my jewelry. It was about actually being able to establish a shift in a paradigm, establish a connect with the customer through that paradigm shift, and be able to communicate a certain virtue of the brand, right? Is that relevant? I think yes, it's relevant. It's relevant for all types of businesses. It's relevant for all individuals. When we as an individual want to communicate with a larger set of people, how do you communicate that? Is there a paradigm shift that I can adopt to be able to communicate that effectively? This Daag Achhe Hain, it's an FMCG product, of course. I think it virtually turned the proposition on the table because the job of the product was supposed to remove the dirt. But what it did was to establish a paradigm where it's good to have dirt. Yeah, and it linked it back to a certain set of a communication that was actually far more powerful than saying, use my product, take away the dirt. We have done something recently, which is the open network. I mean, of course, a lot of debates on that, a lot of feedback on that. But I think what's important is we were defining a paradigm shift there by able to actually open up our network to our consumers. We did get some negative feedback, we did get some pushback, but I think at the end of the day, the customers were with us. They were able to actually communicate to us right clearly saying, your network is good, your network is bad. We were transparent with them, right? So I think from that perspective, in terms of communication, creating a paradigm shift, creating a new paradigm, I think is something that's worth looking at, worth pondering over, because the powerfulness of the communication can only complement and supplement the powerfulness of your idea, your business idea. Again, I think we've seen a lot of this happening. There's nothing wrong to say sorry. As a brand, as a company, I think there's nothing wrong to say, communicate that we're sorry if you've made a mistake. We've had scenarios of that with recent brands. I mean, I don't want to name them, but there are brands which have actually come out in the open to say sorry. They've sent out a letter. The highest person of the organization sends out a letter to people, to customers. Now, is it a gimmick? Yes, probably it's a marketing gimmick. Does it work? It sometimes works. I think the key is, it's about being able to be transparent and be able to say that we did make a mistake. Can we actually come back? Now, is this relevant to a startup? Yes. Is this relevant to a grown-up company? Definitely yes. Is this relevant to an individual? Much more. I think the power of communication, therefore, from this perspective, can't be undermined in this whole area. So what I step back to say is, communication is a very clear strategy that you follow. I mean, the relevance of that depends on the opportunity that you seize as you move forward. Whether it's to customers, whether it's to your partners, whether it's to your own employees. I think it's a powerful way and a powerful tool that you can use to your advantage as you grow up. Communicate, connect, collaborate, and hopefully conquer. I think I would look at it from that perspective. Using communication as a strategic tool, using communication as a strategy to be able to connect and be able to get that to your success rate, I think is one of the key things that I would believe as a learning that I would probably part with this group. Just to end it, a thoughtful strategy sets the course, but I think great communications will steer it to success. And I'm sure you would agree with me on that. Thank you.